Hi, everyone. Welcome to Gen Z and the Protein Shift, Universities as Research and Action Hubs, which is presented in collaboration with the Menus of Change University Research Collaborative. To kick us off, I am delighted to welcome Sophie Egan to the stage. Sophie is the founder of Full Table Solutions. She is Director of Strategy for the Food for Climate League and also co-chair of the Menus of Change University Research Collaborative. So Sophie, I'm going to hand it off to you to kick us off.
Thank you so much, Shara. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. It's wonderful to have you with us. This is going to be an insights-packed session, so we're thrilled that you're here. Appreciate the intro, Shara. I'm going to jump in and tell you all about the Menus of Change University Research Collaborative, who we are, what we do, and how you can benefit from the insights that we've produced over the years. Then you're going to hear from my colleagues a phenomenal culinary demonstration and two presentations that really bring to life two of our recent publications. So the Menus of Change University Research Collaborative was founded in 2014 by the Culinary Institute of America and Residential and Dining Enterprises at Stanford, along with the Stanford School of Medicine. This partnership has really centered on the vision of cultivating the long-term well-being of all people on the planet, one student, one meal at a time. Our mission is a collaboration of forward-thinking scholars, food service leaders, executive chefs, and administrators for colleges and universities who are accelerating efforts to move people toward healthier, more sustainable, and delicious foods using evidence-based research, education, and innovation. We really believe that students are the best way forward. It's not only the 800,000 meals we serve collectively each day, but it's the 15 billion meals that we have the opportunity to shape throughout students' collective lifetimes. So we see this tremendous identity formation that occurs during one's college years as a unique lever for food systems change and for shifting diets. So we really embrace not only again, the meals they have while they're with us, their future meals, but also the impact that they have on others as they go out into the world as parents and make decisions on behalf of their families, as leaders of businesses, as founders of new companies, and as consumers to signal to the marketplace the demand and preferences that hopefully have been shaped while they're with us around really in support of healthier and more sustainable options. The University Collaborative is groundbreaking in that we bring together three major types of collaboration. One is these different types of food leaders that you see represented here. Never before have they worked together. We're talking about senior university administrators, dining directors, executive chefs, academic faculty, nutrition and sustainability managers, and student fellows, importantly. We also foster collaboration within academia across disciplines. Food systems work and eating behavior especially require transdisciplinary lenses. We also collaborate across universities, conducting multi-site research. And our shared language as a collaborative is really the Menus of Change principles. These are not new to anyone here joining at the summit, but this is really what we're trying to understand, what we're trying to operationalize and understand what are the most effective ways to implement these principles. How do you get people to shift their eating habits? And in turn, how do you get dining operations to shift their operations? Our membership is global, extensive, and inclusive. It spans large and small, public and private, and we're grateful to work alongside ex officio members who are not universities but have similar setups and insights, Google, LinkedIn, and US Olympic Training Center, as well as to learn from and contribute to the subject matter expertise of think tanks and NGOs such as EAT, Food for Climate League, LeanPath.org, ReFed, and World Resources Institute. We could not do any of our work without this gracious support of our founding sponsors, Barilla, Google Food, Pete's Coffee, Mushroom Council, and our 2021 sponsors, American Seafoods, Applegate, Kellogg's, Lentils, Nestle Professional, North Harvest Beans, Pulmuone, Unilever Food Solutions, and US Foods. They're tremendous mission-aligned organizations that really help us move our work forward. We are so proud of the work of our Education and Systems Innovation Working Group, as well as our new research, Racial Equity Working Group. But I'm going to share briefly a bit of detail about the Research Working Group, which, as research is in our very name, is truly a core focus of the collaborative. Our research agenda is all about shifting diets, as I mentioned. And how we're trying to do that is to develop scalable, applied solutions to promote those healthy, sustainable, delicious food choices. As you can see on the bottom there, those really are vehicles. So we use a model called Collective Impact, which you're going to hear about later from my colleague Jackie. And I'll describe our two main types of research. academic research. You're familiar with this. This is bound for peer review, publication. It takes a long time. It's very rigorous, and it's truly advancing the body of knowledge in the scientific community. We do that type of research, but we bring in non-academics, as you saw in the petals. We bring in dining directors and folks who have not been considered researchers in the past, but absolutely have expertise and real-world experience because of our living laboratory model, where we're using campus dining halls to study behavior change in real time. We also do operational research. This is nicknamed the quick and dirty approach, which is really more of program evaluation or testing quickly to new dishes, new operational strategies, in order to actually inform decision-making at the dining leader level. And these outcomes are not academic papers, but they're actually toolkits, guidelines, trainings, and a lot of the kinds of materials that I'm going to show you already live on our website, and you can take advantage of them because they're open to everyone. So the research questions that we really focus on are these 4 categories: plant-forward diets, food waste reduction, reduced portion size, and food literacy. They're shown as pillars, but they're really all interconnected. One example is actually our latest publication, which was all about food waste reduction, and it found that actually one of the best strategies is to reduce portion size. So we look at these holistically, and we really pioneered a completely new behavioral research model that never existed before. We have a plug-and-play approach where we pilot a protocol, a research design in one study in one university, and then we scale it across other institutions, plug and play. This gives us huge statistical power, far more data points, makes our findings more generalizable, and we're so grateful for the leadership of our research working group. Started with Dr. Christopher Gardner, you heard from Stanford yesterday, really taking this concept and moving it into action. Then we were led by Dr. Jean-Xavier Guinard of UC Davis, really worked with the support of our research program manager, Ghislaine Chalamel, started to really replicate this model across a number of research questions, and now is led by Dr. Peggy Policastro of Rutgers, who again, with the support of Ghislaine Chalamel, has just produced an incredibly robust research engine. This shows 7 published publications, academic publications, and we also, though, have a wealth of resources available on our website. As I mentioned, these different types of resources that aren't just research for research sake, they're research for, again, those applied, scalable solutions. So things like communication, strategy, training, menu inspiration, it's all there. It's moccollaborative.org is our website, and we see ourselves in the collaborative as really an accelerator. We're not just keeping what we find within the MCURC, but advancing the broader campus dining sector and food service industry at large by exporting and sharing these insights broadly, open source, available to anyone. I'll quickly just give you a teaser of these different resources that you'll find. Our Edgy Veggies Toolkit is an incredible resource for using indulgent and fun language to really lead with flavor and increase the appeal of vegetable-based dishes. We have a chef-driven compilation, a number of resources produced from our very prolific Executive Chefs Committee. The Globally Inspired Plant-Forward Recipe compilation is one example. MCURC Food Waste Research is a little bit like a lit review, kind of what's out there, strategies for reducing food waste, what are the tools, and so forth. And then our Collective Impact Early Learnings Report, which you'll hear about in a moment. Next, we have the menu gap analysis tool. This is a self-assessment tool where in your operation, you can take those 24 principles. We know 24 is a lot, and really assess with your team, how are we doing? How's our progress tracking in each of these areas? Where are we really strong, and where do we maybe need to invest a little bit more time and effort? MOC Principles event schedule template. This is to help you with your marketing. We know that there are activities on campus, holidays, seasonal events, all kinds of things where you can connect specific principles with National Pie Month or National Day of this or week of that, and make this really compelling to your audiences, students or otherwise, as your diners. And then these other two right here are also culinary, chef-driven, really crowdsourced insights compilations. One is best practices for implementing MOC principles. One is a deep dive into protein flip strategies in college and university settings, but absolutely has applications beyond CNU. We encourage you to subscribe to the MCURC News Brief. It is an incredible monthly resource full of news, insights, resources, insights about our research, and it's available to anyone. We recently expanded this beyond the collaborative. I encourage you to sign up here. You can put that in the chat as well. And then lastly, please follow us on LinkedIn. This is, again, a great way to get some of those insights that I mentioned, but also to connect with members, our 270 leaders across 61 institutions and growing. So with that, just leave my contact information with you, and please reach out for membership and community engagement inquiries, sponsorship inquiries, research inquiries, or to my fabulous co-director, Eric Montel of Stanford, Executive Director of Stanford Dining, and myself. We're happy to chat anytime. So with that, it is a great pleasure to turn it over to Matt Ward, who is the co-chair of the Executive Chefs Committee. It's going to tell you about one of our recent publications that has huge relevance to this audience and to the themes of the Menus of Change Summit.
Thank you, Sophie, for that introduction, and I'm excited to be here today to share a project that I was fortunate enough to be involved in as co-chair of the Executive Chefs Committee for MCURC, and that's the one I'll be talking about today. So, the Almost Perfect Plant Forward University Project is an informative guide for those food service operators looking to navigate the process of setting up a plant forward operation as part of their organization. We touch on why plant forward dining is important and what the perfect plant forward university dining hall looks like. The MCURC Executive Chefs Committee worked on coming up with a comprehensive guide that would help navigate someone through the process and answers many of the questions operators may have when looking to start up a plant forward operation. We share success stories and touch on ongoing initiatives from participating MCURC colleges and universities and where they are having the best success with those initiatives. We touch on the who, what, where, why, and how in setting up a plant forward operation as part of your organization. The who touches on who are the key stakeholders and what part they play in setting up and executing a successful operation. It also explains how those stakeholders work in unison and how those relationships build a solid foundation for each operation. Each stakeholder plays a vital role in carrying out the vision of a plant forward food service operation. Those stakeholders include chefs, dining directors, university administration, our vendors and distributors, various campus operation staff, farmers on and off campus, alumni, and of course the students that will enjoy those plant forward meals on a daily basis. Each section goes in depth in explaining how important each person's role and experience is in contributing to the success of the plant forward operation. We touch on how collaborating with each other and fostering meaningful relationships with each other can benefit the success of the plant forward operation. The what and where touches on what the physical aspects of a plant forward operation can look like, such as kitchen equipment and design. The chefs listed some of their favorite pieces of kitchen equipment that have been successful in their operations. We also try to highlight some plant forward ingredients and analogs that would fit perfectly into a plant-based operation from a nutritional and operation standpoint. The why is covered by explaining why a plant-based operation on your campus might be beneficial to your organization from a sustainability and operation aspect. The how is covered towards the end of the project. We explain how you can measure your results, and it highlights some of the initiatives that the MCURC and other colleges and universities have implemented to measure those results. Some examples of initiatives that have been successful on some of our campuses include recipe challenges, on-campus tasting, chef demos, and dining series. We also highlight two projects associated with the MCURC. The first is the DISH study, which stands for Delicious Impressions Support Healthy Eating. It's the first behavioral intervention of its kind to be replicated across multiple university dining halls across the country. It is the first peer-reviewed publication from the MCURC. This research measured dining's vegetable intake for several months at each of 5 universities throughout the United States. The teams tracked nearly 140,000 decisions about 71 vegetable dishes that had been labeled with taste-focused, health-focused, or basic descriptions. The second project is from UCLA Dining Services. They have implemented the use of a low and high carbon footprint icon in order to support their students in making food choices that can positively impact climate change. The green low carbon footprint icon will be added to items with 0 to 25% of the daily value dietary carbon footprint, as recommended by the Eat Lancet Commission. This includes all vegan items, some vegetarian items, and certified sustainable fish. The orange red high carbon footprint icon will be added to those items with more than 50% of the daily valued dietary carbon footprint. This includes beef, lamb, bison, and items with more than 3.5 ounces of cheese. The project includes with some great recipes like mankai smoothies from Harvard University, plant-based chickpea salad, also known as tuna-less salad from Tufts University, the Stanford Farm Power Bowl from Stanford University, and mean greens tomato mushroom curry with mustard seed basmati rice from the University of North Texas. The Executive Chefs Committee of the MCURC hopes that this informative guide is beneficial in navigating this journey in setting up a plant-forward operation and answers many of the questions that are associated with the process.
Thank you so much, Matt, and a phenomenal description of that fantastic resource. And I neglected to mention that Matt is actually Executive Chef of Residential Dining at University of North Texas, so he is uniquely able to tell you all about Plant Forward because University of North Texas is actually home to the first vegan dining hall in America. So Matt does a phenomenal job, and now I'm delighted to welcome his co-chair of the Executive Chefs Committee, Apisha Haid, who's Executive Chef of Harvard University Dining Services, to bring this to life with a little culinary demonstration. Apisha, over to you. And yes, to the question in the audience, I will drop that into the chat in just a moment.
Hello, hello.
Hello. What do you have for us, Apisha?
So welcome everyone. I am so excited to be here with you all today to present to you a very simple, flavorful dish. It's a red Thai curry, vegetables over a sweet mashed potatoes. And the reason I chose this dish, for me, it is when I think plant forward, I always want to think what's most flavorful, what are things that people are going to want to eat that's easily acceptable. And this was one that I felt was definitely exactly that. So I'm going to show you a simple preparation of this dish, and hopefully you'll be able to try it at some point on your campuses. All right.
I'm excited.
All right. So I'm going to start off with, hopefully at some point you'll get to see my second screen so you can be in my pot. But
that's where we want to be.
We'll start off with a little bit of oil in our pan. And we're going to start off by making the sauce first of all. And it's a very simple sauce.
Apisha, I'm going to interrupt you for a second, and maybe you can check your phone to make sure it can get in the queue so everyone can see and be in your pot with you.
It's saying waiting for approval.
Waiting for approval. Okay, we'll be there momentarily. We saw it just a moment ago, but please continue.
All right. So I start off with a little bit of olive oil, and then to that I'm going to add some garlic. And the one thing about this sauce, like I always say, it's kind of, you really can't mess it up. You can just add more to your taste or less depending on what you're going for.
I love things you can't mess up. Maybe just refresh really quickly.
Yeah.
And a great note too from Christina in the chat that you can double click on Apisha's video screen to make it larger too. So you can just try to refresh, and maybe we'll grab that iPhone, but if not, we'll just let you continue with your description and folks can double click and try to zoom in a bit.
All right.
Okay, so you were saying this is hard to mess up.
Yes, it is. It's very hard to mess up, only because it is such a simple dish, and it really is all about your flavor preferences. So if you want it more spicy, more chilies, less spicy, less chilies, that kind of stuff. So I think we might be onto something. I think you might be able to join me.
Ooh, I'm curious. And where can we find the recipe while you're...
So I think Christina has the recipe and she'll be able to share it with everyone.
Okay. Oh yeah, and if you scroll below, you see the session recipe. Great.
All right.
Okay, so,
All
oh,
right,
we have it.
guys.
Look, we're in your pot. We're in your pan.
Yay!
All right, so we're saying.
So to that, I actually mixed a mixture of the tomato paste and the red Thai curry paste together. All right, and I did that because I don't want my garlic to burn while I'm fiddling with the ingredients. So I just mixed them both together to make it easier. Because once I add this, I really don't want to step away for too long because I don't want my curry to burn nor my tomato paste. So I'm really just going to keep moving that along in the pan and keep in mind I only have 10 minutes, so I'm going to do some TV swap outs for you guys today. Okay?
That's the best.
So this is our sauce base. And like I said, if you like green Thai curry or you want to use a green curry, you can use it with a tomato paste. Same thing. And more or less of the curry depending on how spicy you want it. It's really about your own personal preference to this one. So to that, I'm going to just deglaze my pan with vegetable stock. I chose to use vegetable stock because we wanted to keep it more plant forward. You can use chicken stock if you want a little bit more robust flavor, but I tend to find with the curry and everything else that's going on, it works perfectly fine. So the vegetable stock is really just to thin this out and start creating that nice sauce that we want. All right.
Pretty good.
So once that starts to thicken up, believe it or not, we're almost halfway there for the sauce. So that's what I mean, how simple this dish can be. And it could also be used as an action station where you make the sauce ahead of time, saute veggies, and just add the sauce for your students at an action station.
What a great idea.
Yep, and then so the sauce now, I'm just gonna add my coconut milk. All right, and I'm just using about a half can of coconut milk, and same thing with the coconut milk. If you want to use less, you can use less. Some people try to use different substitutes, but because of the Thai flavor, you really want to use that coconut milk versus a soy milk or other, I will consider vegan friendly milk substitutes. The coconut is the best in terms of flavor. It also gives you that nice thickness and richness to the dish. All right, as you can see, our sauce is coming here beautifully. And then that, all I'm going to do is add a little bit of salt and pepper, and that's it. I'm going to pull that off. All right, and then we're going to saute our vegetables and keep going. All right.
All right. Yeah, I love that. What kind of vegetables do we have?
Ooh, we have some dinosaur kale. We have broccoli, carrots, peppers, lots of good stuff. And the vegetables, same thing. I would highly recommend whatever you have available. A lot of times in the dining hall, you know, you have things like summer squash, zucchini, all those things work really well, especially if you wanted to bulk a little bit. I highly recommend the summer squash, zucchini, and any other vegetables pretty much. You can use with this. Eggplant is awesome as well. So while my sauce is just sitting here, we're going to saute our vegetables, and I'm going to start off with my broccoli. Okay, and this, we do not want to over cook the vegetables at this point because we're also going to be adding sauce to it and giving it a second with the sauce. All right, so we want to cook it as minimally as possible, but yet get some flavor from being sauteed. You can also roast the vegetables if you're doing an action station, and then you just make your sauce and saute them at the point where the students come up. So there we go with our kale. All right.
So Apisha, a quick question from the audience. Is there a difference when you see canned coconut milk and the carton of coconut milk available in the refrigerated section of a grocery store?
Usually, yes, because the one that you get in the refrigerated section is meant for straight consumption, so like cereal and milk and those types of applications. So the fat content seems to be usually is a lot lower. So for cooking, you really want to stick with the canned one that's meant for cooking because you'll get that creamy consistency versus more of a drinkable consistency.
Great.
Okay, we're going to add some onions, your peppers.
All right, it's coming together.
Carrots. And And like I said, once this dish starts, it doesn't stop. It just keeps rocking and rolling. And it's pretty awesome, I have to say. To that, I'm going to add my Thai chilies.
I feel like this is like the poster child for Eat the Rainbow.
Yes. And this is one of the reasons why I also like this dish, because it really doesn't say I'm eating healthy. It just says, ooh, that looks good. That's all it says.
It's
so
just
people
great.
will have to try it. All right. So you see all those amazing vegetables in my pan. Do you see that? Oh,
Yeah, we do. Like I said, it's a gorgeous array of colors.
Add some pumpkin seeds.
Oh, nice idea.
And I add the pumpkin seeds because I think it adds a nice crunch to the dish. Because after your vegetables, especially if you're using this as a leftover the next day, and then you get those little nuggets of the pumpkin seeds in it, it's just amazing the second day around. All right. Usually you don't have any left for a second day, but if you do, that's really good. All right. So that's gone. And then the sauce that we had off to the side, we're just going to add.
Oh, so good. All right, Apisha, so I know you're bringing it home. We've got 2 questions, and then we're gonna shift stage. But the question is about how well does it hold if prepared ahead?
If prepared ahead, I will say at least about 30 minutes. And the only reason is you really want those vegetables to still be colorful. It will last longer, but then you end up with more of those soggy veggies, which, you know, kind of defeats the purpose of doing all of this work with cutting all these vegetables. So the next thing I'm going to be serving that with is some mashed sweet potatoes. There is nothing crazy going on here. I just boiled some sweet potatoes, and I'm taking a fork and mashing them. Once I mash my sweet potatoes, I am going to season them. Okay. And this is what I love about this dish. It's really very simple. So in large scale cooking, you know, you can roast your sweet potatoes and peel them. You can steam them and peel them. It really depends on your kitchen and what you have going on. And then I'm going to my sweet potato. We're going to brighten it up with some lemon zest. All right.
All right. So we're out of time, but it looks like you're bringing it all together. I love the zest as well for yet one more color.
All right. And that's about it. There's nothing more to that. And then I'll see if we can plate it so you can see what it looks like. It's really amazing.
I want to eat that. I'm like sad I already ate lunch because I want to redo. I want to do over. So I can
always room for a do-over.
Yes. Oh, that's gorgeous. All right. While you're plating that, one last question, and then we're going to kick you off stage and hear from our colleague, but this is so beautiful. One last question is, if somebody uses soy milk, how could you add coconut flavor? Coconut flakes or?
You can use coconut oil, so that will give you a little bit. And then you can also use coconut flakes, but there is no true substitution for coconut milk.
I personally agree, but yes, great question, Layla. Oh my gosh, that is so spectacular. And good job with the technology, Apisha. Amazing. Thank you. That is so beautiful. I can't wait to make it. Appreciate you sharing that demo with us. And I know everyone else is going to go try that as well. So with that, thank you so much, Apisha. We have a second phenomenal resource that today you get to have brought to life for you. And that is presented by my colleague, Jackie Bertoldo, Associate Director of Nutrition and Food Choice Architecture at Stanford Dining, who is the MCURC Collective Impact Lead. Jackie, take it away.
Thank you so much, Sophie. Very excited to be here today to tell everyone a little bit about the MCURC Collective Impact Initiative. All right. So the collective impact model is an action-oriented framework that promotes cross-sector collaboration in order to accelerate and scale positive change. So a key implication of collective impact is that coordination of efforts between stakeholders and across sectors as part of a carefully constructed process can exponentially increase the potential for impact beyond that of any single organization. So MCURC's Collective Impact Initiative is a strategic initiative really focused on data collection and impact analysis that aims to enhance understanding of the health and environmental impact of the MCURC's combined protein purchases and accelerate efforts towards more plant-forward food purchases across the MCURC. So capitalizing on the breadth of knowledge and innovation and creativity within our network that Sophie touched on, the MCURC is actively testing, iterating, and scaling solutions that shift institutional food purchases towards more plant-centric foods, and also leverage millions of dollars of collective buying power to positively influence food producers, distributors, and retailers. So why protein? Well, as this crowd probably knows, protein has been determined by the Menus of Change Initiative, the Lancet report, and other platforms to be the single most important area of change with respect to advancing healthier and more sustainable menus. And so we measure our protein portfolio, which is a combination of food categories that represent the most common protein sources, both animal and plant-based, that together account for approximately 80 to 90% of our food-related greenhouse gas emissions. So here you see the collective protein portfolio from 2019, and we're in the process of analyzing our 2020 data now. But here you can see the proportion of our food purchases from each food category by weight on the left, and the contribution of each food category to our overall food-related greenhouse gas emissions on the right. And I want to acknowledge quickly our MCURC research partner, the World Resources Institute, for their contributions to this analysis. They were an instrumental partner in conceptualizing how we represent the environmental impact of these food categories. And so what stands out here is the disproportionate role that meat, particularly ruminant meat such as beef and lamb, which in our case amongst our institutions is mostly beef, play in driving our food-related greenhouse gas emissions. So the opportunities for reimagining our institutions' protein portfolios and shifting towards more plant-centric purchasing, and in turn, the opportunities collectively for improving our combined protein portfolio as measured across the MCURC translates into tremendous potential for collective impact. And so the MCURC has set a collective target to reduce food-related greenhouse gas emissions by 25% at universities across the US by 2030 through shifts in our combined protein purchases in alignment with the Menus of Change principles that you see here. And so within the MCURC alone, such a shift would equate to removing approximately 100,000 passenger vehicles off the road every single year. And in just the first 2 years of this initiative, we've demonstrated a 9.4% collective reduction in pounds of meat purchased among the 19 MCURC institutions that submitted purchasing data for both years, despite an overall increase in food purchases overall. So we saw reductions in beef and lamb, again, most of this is beef, and chicken purchases, and an increase in food purchases that are sources of plant proteins like grains, beans, and legumes. And we utilize what we refer to as an intensity metric to evaluate how plant-forward our food purchases are. So even in years where food operations have grown or reduced substantially, which we anticipate in 2020 with COVID, this may be the case, that a downward trend in this metric indicates progress towards less greenhouse gas intensive food purchases overall. Between 2018 and 2019, we saw a 5.6% decrease in this intensity metric, measured in pounds of carbon dioxide equivalents per pound of food. That indicates a shift towards more plant-forward purchasing. And so this proof of concept, still early, but it really demonstrates the game-changing potential of this initiative if similar reductions could be scaled within the MCURC and even across the broader food service sector. And so this past year, as Sophie mentioned, we summarized our learnings from the early phases of this initiative in an early learnings report. And it's available on the MCURC website, as she mentioned. I'm going to touch briefly on what this report covers, but I really strongly encourage everyone to view the report in its entirety. It's a great resource if you're thinking about how you can help create impact in your own organization. And so one of the things that the Collective Impact Early Learnings Report touches on is what we've learned from the process of implementing this initiative, how we've engaged our members to voluntarily provide purchasing data, and how we've worked with them to support plant-forward purchasing initiatives across the MCURC. And so I won't go into too much detail here, but for anyone who is interested in how this initiative was implemented, I really encourage you to learn more by reading the report. What I think is the juiciest part of our report is what we call our 5 paths to progress. So throughout these early stages of the Collective Impact Initiative, we've been continuously gathering feedback to support positive shifts in protein portfolio purchases across our membership. And these paths to progress are the common themes that have emerged. These are focus areas to expand on to help us define best practices, crowdsource solutions, and accelerate impact across the MCURC towards our collective greenhouse gas reduction target. And alongside each of these, we have identified case studies of universities who are putting these paths to progress in action. So number one on our path to progress is shifting consumer demand. So while trends and insights into the changing values and eating behaviors of Gen Z and future generations are really encouraging, customer demand and preferences are still the number one challenge to implementing more plant-forward menus and also therefore food purchases that was cited by our members. And we know, given the urgency of climate change and the health challenges that are facing our world's growing population, that it will not be enough to wait for our customer taste to change. So in order to accelerate progress, we must find new and creative ways to inspire a majority of students and customers to make healthier, more sustainable food choices day in and day out that leave them feeling happy and satisfied. In a recent survey of Collective Impact Initiative participants, changing organizational culture was also cited as one of the top barriers to shifting protein purchasing behavior. And to instill this kind of culture where healthy and sustainable food is the norm, leadership and buy-in are essential at all levels of the organization. Significant progress towards lowering food-related greenhouse gas emissions is going to require a shift from simply encouraging each other to work towards change to truly empowering each other to take necessary actions within our organizations and across the MCURC. And as part of this process, we have to ensure that we celebrate and elevate people and organizations that are creating change, establishing new norms, and successfully shifting cultural mindsets in support of healthier and more sustainable food. And as Apisha and Matt demonstrated beautifully, chefs and culinary staff have a central role to play in advancing healthier, more plant-forward menus and food purchases. So MCURC members have observed that more effort and care is typically put forth into preparing foods that culinary staff enjoy cooking and eating. So providing our culinary staff and our executive chefs and our culinary teams with more opportunities to create new culinary concepts or platforms for plant-forward dishes can help to drive innovation and create buy-in from both staff and students. It's also important to find ways to engage our food service workers and others who are ultimately responsible for executing on plant-forward dishes and delivering them to our students to ensure that the same amount of care and pride goes into a dish at all levels. One of the strengths of the MCURC network is our capacity to develop and share best practices in support of healthier and more plant-forward initiatives. However, emphasis must also be placed on how these practices are effectively operationalized and reinforced in our institutions and food service operations. And I love this quote from one of our members that you can develop a program in theory, but in practice, it takes an enormous amount of constant attention. And new initiatives don't become established habit in a week. So operationalizing best practices throughout the MCURC is going to require a deeper examination of how new programs are successfully implemented across institutions, what barriers our members face to implementing these, and in what context different approaches are going to work best. So through this work, we hope to create new tools, resources, and platforms to elevate strategies that enhance the uptake of evidence-based practices. And last but not least, food cost remains an important consideration for institutions wanting to incorporate more plant-forward menu items, for instance, meat alternatives. From finding innovative solutions to control food waste, to leveraging collective purchasing agreements, the MCURC has unique opportunities to generate value and promote affordability across our member institutions, while also shifting protein purchases to reduce food-related greenhouse gas emissions. Some MCURC members have moved to producing plant-based alternatives in-house, like seitan or vegan cheese, to have greater control over costs and quality of ingredients. Others are finding creative ways to dispel the mindset that plant-forward or plant-based dishes do not offer the same value as meat-centric dishes. So uniting our efforts to positively shift protein portfolio purchases with strategies to promote greater value to our students is a win-win approach for everyone.
Absolutely. I'm going to let everyone just quickly read those. And thank you so much, Jackie, for that fantastic presentation. As she said, learn more in the Early Learnings Report. Really appreciate that fantastic presentation, Jackie. Shara's going to wrap with some logistics, and then I'm going to share with you my top takeaway.
Perfect. Thank you so much to Sophie and Jackie and Chef Matt and Apisha. Incredible session today. As Sophie said, we'll listen to top takeaways in just a moment. But next, we're going to be heading into a networking time, which is sponsored by Aramark. We will have a special culinary demonstration as well as panel discussion and a Meet the Author with Larissa Zimberoff, all taking place in the Sessions tab. We also have the networking tab on the left where you can have one-to-one video chats for 4 minutes with other attendees in the space. And today's topic is, what steps are you or your company taking to reduce your carbon footprint? Lastly, of course, we have the Innovation Hub activated each time during our networking opportunities, where you can watch culinary demos, insightful presentations, watch some incredible videos from our generous sponsors. So we hope that you'll engage there each day as well. So we'll enjoy the networking activities in a moment. But before we do, Sophie, back to you.
All right, thank you. Well, Jackie, I cut you off, so tell me your top takeaway and then I'll...
I just want to encourage everyone to please visit the Menus of Change University Research Collaborative website. As Sophie said, it's such a wealth of knowledge and resources and really, really impactful information. So that's my takeaway. Please visit our website.
Yes, we really, here we're just marketing all the items there, but you can engage with those materials. My really kind of closing thought for you is, the title of the session, Gen Z and the Protein Shift, Universities as Research and Action Hubs. I hope you saw today how much Gen Z really is the way of the customers of the future, and how it's imperative that we provide options that are delicious, that support their health and that of the planet, and that doing so requires engaging all the relevant stakeholders. And there are tools available to you because of the fact that universities such as ours in our network are stepping up into that role and embracing the responsibility and opportunity we have to be those research and action hubs and to share what we learn along the way. So that's what it's all about, and we hope you'll take full advantage in the name of implementing Menus of Change principles and helping shape the plant-forward future for the industry. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. We will see you all tomorrow for more compelling content at 10 a.m. Pacific. Have a great rest of your day.